and I find it interesting when I'm talking to kids and we're talking about breaking mechanics and things like that. And they're like, Coach Matt, should I actually break someone's arm? And I'm like, it's such a gray area because it's like, yeah, like that's what we're training to do.
What's the most efficient path to victory against this particular opponent?
He's dropping off for the choke here. We could see the finish. It's looking tight. Tight at Alpra.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Everyday Jiu Jitsu podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kwan. The Everyday Jiu Jitsu podcast is everything you need to know about Jiu Jitsu. Today, I have a guest with me, Mr. Lucas Wilhan of Lapel Arts. Welcome to the show, Lucas.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, I listened to some of your stuff. It's pretty cool and we competed together, so it's pretty cool to connect on podcasts. So thanks for having me.
Of course, yeah, it's great for you to be on the show. For those who don't know, like Lucas mentioned, we've competed 6 times. I think we're 3-3, so it's always even. It always goes the full distance. Neither of us can seem to find submissions over the other, and we've also trained together. And we keep things pretty cordial whenever we see each other in Vancouver, even though whenever we see each other, we're like, yeah, that's the guy. I really want to beat that guy. But Lucas reached out and he was like, hey, we should talk on the pod. And I was like, oh, I would love to have you on the show. Being a fellow gym owner and competitor, it's great to have you here. And why don't you just give us sort of a brief background on who you are and your introduction to jiu-jitsu, Lucas?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And so I trained under Bruno Fernandez there from white to black, who's under GB Montreal. And he's like the head guy at GB over there. And it's just a great environment over there. And he's a really good role model, like 4-time world champion. He's actually a doctor, ophthalmologist. Just a great business owner as well. So I was under good hands over there, and high level guy. He trained with like the best, like Hodger Gracie and like Braulio Estima. I had great resources with them. I got to train with like high level guys as well. And about 5 years ago, I moved to Vancouver, and then that was just before the pandemic, and then shit happened, and then. Yeah, we went and did our own thing with Lapel Arts. Started with a small studio first, doing just like privates because that was the only thing that we were able to do at that time. And then we built up and did our own academy, like full-on academy in central Vancouver, Fairview, Kitsilano area. So I've been a competitor for 15 years now. I really pride myself in being a competitor since like white belt, even before white belt, like high school wrestling, really got to grind it out without really knowing much. I just fell in love with it. Like, I love that it was really hard. I love that I can, get to test myself and, see what I'm worth in competition. Did a lot of like major tournaments, Pan Ams, Euros, Worlds, ADCC trials. Recently, I medaled at Nogi Worlds, which is like a huge thing. It was always like on my mind. Like, I always wanted to be world champion. So I finally got to medal, and that was really big. Unfortunately, it was Master 1, not as big as I was trying for, but it was up there for accomplishments. But now. And I recently won the ADCC Opens in Vancouver and Costa Mesa. Those were probably my favorite wins because, ADC, it was like the first ADCC Opens, and it was huge. And now I face some really tough guys, as you know, Matt. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when you beat me. That was my last loss to you. It was ADCC Vancouver. I got my back taken with like a minute left. It was so good. That one definitely haunts me. And we've had, like I said, we've competed 6 times, over the years, and I'm planning on coming out to Lapel Arts. I still haven't visited your academy, but it'd be great to check it out. Why did you move to Vancouver? Because Montreal does have a pretty strong jiu-jitsu scene. There are good guys on the east coast of Canada. What was your motivation to move to Vancouver?
Oh yeah, dude. The training there is like top notch. Like there was a lot of resources. I moved because I always wanted to move. I always wanted to like go to a nicer city. In my opinion, like Vancouver is like the nicest city in Canada. And I was actually thinking about moving to LA originally, like so I can train with like guys like Hamilo Baral, Edwin Najmi, and Gabriel Arges, because I've trained with them before, and like they were top notch. And yeah, I want to move to a new city and open a gym eventually. So I ended up opening sooner rather than later, and worked out great with my partner Paulini. So yeah, I mean it was just always in the plans. I always want to move, and had a great opportunity. I worked at GB Van, and then yeah, and then we started working on that. So how GB is, it's kind of like a franchise. So it was already built up in my head that I wanted to have an academy, and I think that's pretty valuable to have that goal in mind. As you're going up through the ranks and competing. So I wasn't competing just to be like a world champion. I was also thinking like, okay, I'm going to compete so I can get some skills, and then eventually be able to teach my students. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, nothing really bad in Montreal. Like I was single at the time actually, and then I decided to move. I met Paulini, and I mean she helped with that decision too, for the move. Because I was like, oh, okay, beautiful girlfriend, waiting for me in Vancouver. Let's go all out, all in, and yeah, it wasn't easy for sure, moving away, but I'm glad I did now.
I'd like to ask you if it's okay with you, and if it's not, please just give me a short answer or whatever. What was your motivation to start your own franchise as opposed to opening a Gracie Baja? Because there is a lot of Gracie Bajas in the area. Like you can find almost a Gracie Baja in every municipality in the lower mainland here in Vancouver. There's probably upwards of like 20 locations. If you were to open with GB, you would have, like you had mentioned, a framework that is already established. It would almost be like foolproof. Everybody's gonna Google Gracie. The average person's gonna Google Gracie when they are getting into jiu-jitsu, and of course Gracie Baja is probably top gym that's going to come up wherever you are. There's going to be locations close to you if you're Googling it. So you had gone your own route, which is what I did as well, and kind of just developed your own brand, which comes with more risk, but also comes with more freedom. Can you tell me why you didn't, why opening a GB wasn't in your plans?
Yeah, so originally I was going to, but then yeah, I got my location like taken away. It was a weird situation. So yeah, we decided to just go on our own route, and yeah, do our own thing. Like didn't have to move to open up a gym. Basically, like originally it was going to be pretty close by, and then there was just no space, and then we're like, okay, well, we don't have to move away from Vancouver.
You could become a competitor.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
that's how business works. Unfortunately, if something doesn't work out, like you can go just do your own thing. Like, and I mean, it's been very rewarding to go and do my own thing. Like it's been more difficult at times. Of course, you lose some of your network, which is normal. But and then you start developing your own style, and you notice that things are even better because like you could just try do your own techniques. That they set your own curriculum in a way. I don't really have a curriculum. I go by theme, but no, it's just I find the students are getting better in general. We do different teaching approaches, like the ecological approach, and just kind of like a blend of things, drilling, so it's really rewarding. And yeah, we have our own thing. We set up our own merch, and can partner with like brands like Perry, who I'm sponsored with. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah, just for me, I wasn't really part of like a big umbrella school. At one point, I was part of a gym called Pacific Top Team, which was actually ex GB members who had kind of defacted at one point and developed Pacific Top Team. And I was in a fork in the road as well. I ended up leaving that team to go with my professor Rob Bernacki from Vancouver Island, and then I didn't want to really wear anyone's banner. I developed On Guard, and man, like, just like you said, it is difficult at times because you're basically blazing your own trail, and there's no groundwork laid for you, right? You have to develop, you have to do all the stuff from scratch, but in the end, it is so rewarding having that freedom. You don't have to pay. You don't have to pay organization fees or anything like that. You can make your own merch. Your curriculum is exactly how you want it to be. So at the end of the day, I think it is a better choice. Plus, just, I think with our personalities, we're the type of guys that, we like to be in charge of our own destiny. We're not really like into following somebody else's orders, and just having that extra freedom for your school. One thing that I could be mistaken is, like, GB is not really known for their fondness of things like cross training, cross promoting, things like that. They like to keep it within their own network, whether it's CompNet or even just training. But how do you feel as a gym owner now that you have your own students, and your students are there when they're in the gym? Like, these are the guys that are helping you getting ready for competitions. These are the guys who are essentially putting food on your table. How do you feel about your students cross training?
I think it's fine. It's healthy. Yeah, I mean, it could be tough to always cross train because it is like a competition every time you go and go train somewhere. So there's more risk of, like, fatigue and maybe injury, or, yeah, I mean,
Why is there
I don't
more of a
get
risk of
injured.
injury?
Yeah, I don't
Why?
really get injured.
Jealous of that.
But yeah, I don't get injured for competition either. But, like, I don't know, like, maybe for some students, like, I don't know the environment as well. So, like, I don't know if they're going to get slammed or, they're going to get heel hooked really bad and then, hurt their knee. So, I mean, I've got injured cross training, actually, versus like a meow. I'm not even sure which one it is, but, like, yeah, I kind of fucked up my knee with a Junie lock. So, I mean, I've experienced some injuries firsthand. But yeah, I generally like, cross training. I do think people should have like a home gym where they develop their skills and, they don't feel as stressed going into a training. So it's just a bit more comfortable. And, that's what I like personally. I'm at the gym like six days a week, oftentimes 2-3 times a day. Yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable. I don't have really time to go and cross train. I would like to. That's one of my goals. But yeah, if you have limited time for skill development, I think it could be better to stay at like your home gym. Every once in a while, I would suggest like every 2 months or maybe a month, like go and cross train, test out your skills, or you could just cross train by competing. And then that's pretty much what I've always done. Like, hey man, like, this is when it really counts. I'm not going to just go into another gym and be like, okay, because when you're cross training, it's still training, right? It's like, it doesn't really matter if you get beat or you beat someone else. You don't have bragging rights. So I like the fact that I can get bragging rights from competitions, and even in competition, it doesn't really matter, but it's just a bit more real.
Definitely. And it's such a different environment, like you had mentioned. When you go to a gym that you've never been before, in some ways it doesn't feel like a competition, but the same stresses and unfamiliarities can you can feel those differences in the changes of environment. You don't know the people you're rolling with. Like you said, you don't know if someone's going to like slam or spaz you. I mean, hopefully they don't slam. That'd be pretty fucking retarded if they did that, but you just don't know. It's just, they're people that you're not, really used to. Do you think that, cause when I was coming up through the ranks before I opened a school, I loved cross training. I would try and visit gyms as often as I could. Keep in mind, this is pre-COVID. When COVID hit, people like went crazy, and now cross training was not a thing. And now things are opening up again, where people are more comfortable to let people, in your gym. And then when I became a gym owner, it was like, okay, cross training's fucking hard, because like you had mentioned, you're at the gym every day. When are you going to get a chance to go cross train? Unless you can get your classes covered, or unless you're going to sacrifice your 1 day a week off to go and cross train. It's really hard when you're running your own program to go other places. But for someone who's coming up in the earlier belts, how important do you think it is to cross train at other schools, to see other styles, to roll with people you're not always rolling with in terms of skill development?
Yeah, I think it's pretty key. So yeah, when I was in Montreal, I would cross train quite a bit, but not a crazy amount. Cause again, like I like the routine of just coming to the home gym all the time and getting my rolls in, and like I got to roll with my professor, who was the 4-time world champion. So it's like, that was literally the best training I could get. I was like, okay, I didn't really need to go and train too many other places, because it was always just like trying to get up to that benchmark. But no, every once in a while, like I would go and cross train like BTT, TriStar, some gyms around there, but they were competitors. So it's like I don't know, back then it was a bit different, because it was there wasn't as many gyms. There was just big teams. So the 3 main ones in Montreal were TriStar, BTT, and Gracie Baja. And then we kind of like keep somewhat of a distance until like the competition came. But yeah, I was actually dating a BTT person, so it was a bit easier. And then we basically we were able to train. They had some good guys, but it was different styles, and like there's also this thing where you don't want to let your partner figure out your style too much. Like if we're training, like maybe I'll not always do my best stuff, so it kind of guides my attacks, try some things, see if things work. There's a bit of gamemanship and strategy you have to think about, like long term. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, if you're a blue belt, it doesn't matter as much. Purple belt, that's when it starts to get a bit more serious. But yeah, it is what it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What is your long-term jiu-jitsu goal?
Yeah, good question. I mean, keep doing what we're doing. I mean, want to have a kid. So, yeah, I want to eventually just, build little champions eventually, and grow the family, grow the business, and yeah, pretty much that, like coach some champions. It is pretty tough to find someone as dedicated as yourself, or as like a really dedicated person. I find it could be very challenging. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to really concentrate on that entirely. And then yeah, so hopefully, I think the kids are the real future, but again, you can't really impose that on someone. So I just want to improve people's lives through jiu-jitsu, keep growing, and make people happy through jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you? What about yourself?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of what you said, when I first thought about my goals in jiu-jitsu, like I started when I was 20, and I never really had this goal of like being a world champion is my goal. When I was going into training, I wasn't training to win competitions. I was just training because I loved the training. I really enjoyed the sport, and I love the process of training. And I before I wanted to be a gym owner, I wanted to be a culinary arts instructor. I just really enjoyed teaching, and then my focus shifted to leaving the culinary arts and being able to teach jujitsu and make a living off of that. So that really was my full-time goal, was to be able to just make a living off of jujitsu. I didn't even like so many people I know who open gyms. Like when I was gonna open a gym, I thought of the idea of teaching children, and I was just like, it would make me cringe. I was like, oh God, like I don't want to do this. I don't want to work with kids. That's kind of like a price that I'm paying so that I can make money, so that I can teach adults. But now, like you said, now that I'm involved in full-time instruction and owning a gym, man, the kids are the future. It's like teaching the kids are actually kind of my favorite class now. Like the ages 10 to teenagers, those are so fun. They're so fun to teach because they're very much like adults. And if you can set if you can set the tone in the room as like a mature competitive tone, man, they're like sponges. They pick it up super fast, and it can be really, really enjoyable and rewarding to just watch them grow. So to answer your question, I mean, my long-term goal was to just have a school that was successful, that could provide for me and my family. And I've done that now. So basically everything after this is it's just fun now. I compete because it's fun and I like to test myself or whatever. But like, I'm 36 years old. Like, what am I going to do? Go try and win 80cc worlds? Like it's not something that for me is high on the priority list because I understand the reality and where I'm at. But as a coach, I feel like you had mentioned, I feel like I can build champions. And that has now become almost my primary focus, seeing some of these kids grow into adults and see what they can do at the highest levels. Because a lot of them started when they were, 5 or 6. And for me, I started when I was 20, right? Like we're kind of like in that middle generation between the old school guys and the really new modern kids who are going to be just unbelievable, right? So, my long-term goal is I've kind of already accomplished it, and everything after this is just gravy from here. I want to ask you, how do you manage being a competitor and a gym owner and wearing all the different hats that running a gym and being a competitor involves?
Yeah, I just want to touch on what you just said. Like, I agree. Like, I feel like I just achieved like my dream, like opening up a gym and then, running it. But I mean, we're only 2 years in, and it's like a bit more, 2.5 years in. So there's still a lot of work to do. So I still can't just relax like you, unfortunately. But I mean, like, I still want to be like a world champion, like maybe my goals are a bit different. Like what's more realistic is Master 1 world champion. So, it's still a big feat, but I mean, 80cc, just getting to the 80cc, I think is still feasible for me. I'm 32. I'm doing well in the 80cc circuit. And so, I'm still going to try for that. That's still what drives me. How do I manage everything? I just I just work my ass off, and I try to I get burnt out sometimes, but like you take rest days, and then you get back to it, and then you do things that motivate you. You try to like keep learning about jiu-jitsu and try to find ways to motivate you and find the passion. So I'm always watching instructionals, listening to podcasts, Audible, all this stuff to keep motivating and keep striving for greatness, pretty much. So it's challenging with all the planning we have to do nowadays. Get instructors to cover classes and manage our financials as well, because it's not cheap to go and fly out to Austin for a super fight. But I mean, we can kind of play it like a vacation too. I've always done that, like traveled and had a semi vacation after competing, and those are like the most rewarding vacations I find you can take, after you do something really difficult. If you win, it's a really good vacation. If you lose, still not bad. So, highly recommend trying to do that,
And for those who don't know, I mean, everywhere is expensive right now, but living in Vancouver is crazy. To even find a space that is affordable and, within the zoning regulations, it's very difficult. It took me many years before I finally found a space. And, you had mentioned you guys are only open now for 2.5 years. Is that correct? Lapel Arts has been open for 2.5. So for me, when I opened OG, it was like, it wasn't profitable until like 4 or 5 years went by. And then you can finally relax when you have that student base and you have your, you have a reputation where you don't really need to market things. People just come to you because they want high quality jiu-jitsu. And that time will absolutely come for you because I know how good you are. I know, I know that I think we're on the we're very same mindset in terms of like what we want to offer a customer, where it's more of a competitive school, but yet there's still a place for the average Joes. And I've spoken on the podcast before about how the average recreational practitioner is so important for a gym owner to cater to that person as well. Even if you really want to compete, you still have to think about the other people in the room, right? So it will come for sure. There will be a time when you'll just be chilling and you're not going to have to worry about too much. It just takes time developing a new business.
It's kind of there, but it's still like, still in the back of my head that like, okay, well, I want to just keep grinding and,
of course,
you always want to do better too, like you never really super comfortable, in my opinion, like in a business in general, and like, who knows, it could be another pandemic, knock on wood.
Well, exactly. Right. Like that was so fun. I mean, I've talked about COVID endlessly on this show, and I don't even think I need to like talk about it anymore, because honestly, it just pisses me off. And like so many people who just went along with that, if you're listening to this podcast right now, you probably went along with it, or maybe you didn't, I don't know. But nobody was like really speaking out when it counted. Nobody was going against the grain when it counted. And we all just kind of found, you either had to find a way to survive as a business or I know people who lost their gyms, which is incredibly unfortunate. And now we're just supposed to go along with it as if, it never happened. And you're right, it could happen again. And, if it does happen again, for me, I believe that people will just fall in line again. So, we'll have to find another skeleton crew of people who want to train with you. And a lot of the normie customers will just leave. Like I had a big part of my student base who just left. Part of it was because how I was conducting myself publicly and speaking out against it. And those people thought that I was being dangerous, so they just left. But then at the same time, a bunch of awesome people came into my life, and it almost was like, weeding my garden in a way where, great people came in and we're now more like-minded as a gym than ever before. So it was painful at times, but it was an unpredictable situation, and who could have predicted that would happen? And it could happen again. These random things can just happen to you as a business owner. And, you wake up one day and everything's different. You're like, okay, how are we going to address this obstacle? I wanted to ask you, what is somebody who's owned a gym for, I guess, under 3 years, can you share with us, like, what is the biggest mistake you've made as a gym owner?
I don't think about my mistakes. I don't know. No, I do definitely think about my mistakes. But I don't know. I mean, I guess just feeling out the curriculum. I mean, I don't even think it's a mistake, just doing a lot of trial and error, maybe having like some bad classes and, but everyone sometimes teaches bad classes, or just like classes that you don't think are, the highest, caliber for yourself, I have a high standard for myself. So I just stress out, like thinking if something's really working out, but I think overall we're doing pretty well. Like, big mistake, I don't know. I think I was pretty well prepared. I read a lot of books, and talked to some friends about how to open, and I was pretty confident. And I mean, nothing too big, honestly. Uh, yeah, I don't know.
What has helped you manage a martial arts academy better? Like, can you give the listeners kind of like, I don't know, some advice? What has made your business more successful? Any tips, any things that stand out in terms of how you run the business, how you market your business, how you, how you manage things from a
Yeah, just
gym
try to
owner's
do the
perspective?
yeah, just try to do like the mundane things well, like keep a good routine. These small like little tasks like really add up, and then yeah, like any job, things get easier if you just have that routine of doing all the time. Just like being ready to sign someone up if they're doing a trial, and we don't have any like crazy sales pitch or anything like that, but we're just like, okay, we just have to be there. Just have to make sure we're showing them the prices, showing them how to sign up if they want to sign up, and um, answering their questions, trying to give a good trial, if they're coming through, you know, um, yeah, just basic stuff, but doing it really well, making sure the gym is really clean all the time, making sure things are communicated really well. And yeah, that's pretty much it, like just yeah, try to be a good leader, and not take ownership. If there is a problem, always think about, oh, what could I have done if what could I have done better, and if there was a mistake, what could I have done? Okay, maybe I should have communicated something to the instructor or to the student better, so that's it. Communication is always key, and I think that's really important for the business. Yeah.
I think you kind of answered my next question, which was going to be like give some advice on for gym owners to better retain students. But all those things that you had mentioned, I think fall into that line. Like one thing you said, which was ownership, is really, really important, especially if someone comes to you with a concern. One of the worst things I think people can do is kind of dismiss somebody's concerns, and it's gonna happen. I can think of like numerous examples where this might happen. Like, oh, somebody came in and trained with ringworm, and like, how are you as the instructor going to address this? Somebody was rolling with my kid too aggressively, and there's you that's kind of like a fork in the road for you as an instructor, where you could say, well, I didn't see it, so there's nothing I can do about it. Or I think you really have to like take it on as your own mistake, even if it wasn't anything that maybe like your cleaning is up to par. Maybe that you're constantly watching this, a whole room of kids, and like it's possible to miss certain things in the room, like an aggressive student or something like this. Uh, or I don't know. This hasn't happened, thank God. But like, what if someone was being creepy to one of the girls or something? It's like it's an opportunity for you to show, like you said, show that you care and to take ownership for those mistakes. And I think a lot of people nowadays are so quick to just pass the blame to someone else because it's easy, and they're like, well, fuck, I didn't do anything wrong. That's a really good way for people to think that you don't care, right? And especially when you're the leader has to be the one to take those mistakes and take them head on and take the brunt of it and apologize for it, and ask yourself, like, okay, what can we do better? um how even if you weren't neglecting it, like, you still have to think about, okay, well, this person's got a concern. I have to try to, well, even if you don't care, you have to at least show them you care, and show them that, like, I'm going to take action to change this situation, because that's a really good way, to lose students and things like that.
100%. Yeah. Extreme ownership, right? Like the
Like the
the
Jocko
Jocko
book.
book, So yeah, it just
Let's
repeats how everything's your fault, So yeah.
Basically.
Just like the mind
But
work. Yeah.
that actually does get you pretty far in life, having that mindset, because yeah, especially for somebody who teaches, somebody who runs a business, you, whether you like it or not, you're the leader, right? Um, what is your class structure like for
Yeah.
adults? Let's
Right
say.
now. Yeah. Right now. I mean, for like an all levels class, we're doing like a warm up with the like somewhat of an ecological approach. Not entirely. Like sometimes we were a bit more direct with our students. But yeah, somewhat like of a game to warm up, and then a couple techniques. 2 or 3 techniques, and then we do more like maybe a game or specific training. I know like there's the difference, right? So like specific training is like we're just looking for points more so, or like a submission, and then we reset, and then a couple of rounds. So try to get very efficient with our time, and yeah, we have plenty of open mat time for just like extra rolling and drilling or whatever you like. So we do have a competition class where we do a lot of competition situational style rolling, and we just added like an advanced no-gi where we do full on ecological, just get that style of rolling in, right? But
Mhm.
it can be really tiring for like beginners, so that's
It's
why we don't
exhausting.
do full on ecological. I think it actually should be more of an advanced thing.
When I spoke to Kit Dale on the show, he basically said his classes are 1 hour. It's task focused games, and that's it. There's no free rolling after. And I'm like, well, that seems kind of short. Like, because our classes are 2 hours. No matter what we teach, it's like it's an hour of the instruction portion, whether that's task focused games or technique or whatever, and then followed by an hour of rolling. And he's like, yeah, nobody wants to roll after because everyone's so tired, and it is
Yeah.
exhausting, right? Like on Wednesday we have our positional sparring day, and pretty much after that first hour, the free rolling begins at 8 o'clock, and pretty much half the team leaves because they're like, I'm done. Like I've exerted enough, and I'm tired. So only the real hardcores or the people who haven't trained that week will stay behind because they're actually ready for more. So I assume at your gym, you're not doing like line drills and things like that too much. Like we probably came up in an era where everyone was doing that. I remember doing line drills all the fucking time. Doing warm ups that I would consider um, not as technically advanced as what I try to do nowadays. Do you guys do drills like that? Do you do drilling without resistance, and do you find validity in those types of exercises?
We don't do line drills or like crazy warm ups anymore. Back even when I was training, like the comp classes, that the ones I was doing with Bruno in Montreal, we didn't have warm ups. Pretty much, we just did some drills and then went to training. Live resist drilling.
Do you think those
Yeah,
drills have validity? Like the solo drills, the line drills, things like that? Because there's people who think it has no validity. I think that there is validity to learning how to fall, learning how to shoot, things like that. I'm not saying that we should be spending a lot of time on it, and I barely spend any time teaching that stuff. But do you think there's any validity to that in terms of like skill development?
Um, yeah, I mean, if someone's super unathletic, just to get the coordination down, it's really good for maybe like a day one person. Maybe could show them basic, break falls and rolls and shrimps and bridges. But like you don't have to have that as an everyday warm up. But it's pretty important for like a new person to know how to bridge, and shrimp, and I mean, and you can show the different types of shrimps too. It's not. I mean, it's pretty important. That they're going to learn on the fly too. Like generally, higher belts are going to show the new students these movements, so that's why we don't focus too much on it. But yeah, regular drilling, we do some of it because like some like without resistance, because some movements are just like not natural, and like you have to give it some reps. Like I was just drilling. I was just teaching the hip and knee post in Nogi that like has been really popular with the Danaher guys. And that it's hard to get in the tripod position. It's like it takes some reps to go and do that. And then if we just did live sparring, no one would actually go into that tripod position. They would always stay upright because it's more comfortable. It's more natural for them. So drilling is important for the unnatural movements. And like I think it's a mistake to just rely on whatever you feel is the best. Like jiu-jitsu's been around for a while now. Wrestling's been around for forever. Judo's been around forever. We have to learn from our successors, predecessors, sorry.
How does your class structure change for children? Let's say, young children. What age do you guys start kids at Lapel Arts?
Yeah, 5 years old. So 5 to 7. We try to do more games for them, but every once in a while, like we'll do some drilling because they need to know the movements. We do warm up as well. Because it's good to get their energy out.
What kind of warm ups are we talking about here, and what kind of class length?
We just do 45 minutes. Because it's like what's gonna catch their attention, and we do. Running around the mats, rolls. It's like a routine. So I find kids like really like the routine, and we do more of like a traditional warm up. Try to keep it not too long, too, like 5-6 minutes, and then some sort of game, to get them going. Sometimes drilling, sometimes games, all games. And then
when you say games,
ecological approach games.
Okay, yeah. Because a lot of people, like I think a really smart thing to do with kids is to disguise training as a game, right? Because that's how they want to learn. They want to play games. It makes them humans in general, but especially kids. Like if there's a chance that they're going to win or lose, then there's more of a likelihood that they're going to try harder, and there's more of a likelihood that it will emotionally arouse them and make information stick, as opposed to being like, okay, kids, here's how you do an arm bar from the guard. These are the 5 steps. And then they're like looking around. They don't give a fuck, right? They're just like, okay, I've already stopped. I've already tuned out. But when you're like, okay, let's start in the arm bar position. Don't let your partner escape. Try and, keep your butt as close to them as possible. Keep your legs strong, go. Now, all of a sudden they're starting to do jiu-jitsu, right? And sometimes there's time. I think there's also validity at the end of class to reward them, with like a game of like dodgeball or hand hockey or some kind of like fun game, because, we forget that these kids are still kids, and that can be a huge motivation for them to behave, to pay attention, to have some fun at the end. So,
100%. We do the same, So at the end, we have a play game usually.
How do you like teaching kids? How do you like teaching kids that age? Be honest.
Oh, I like it. I don't do it as much anymore. I don't know. I only fill in nowadays, but I used to teach a bunch, and it could be really rewarding. See like the behavioral changes and them like doing great at jiu-jitsu. So yeah, I don't mind it. Now I'm just teaching teens, and that's super rewarding as well. They're actually able to apply a lot of the techniques that we're showing, and we can show more advanced techniques. So I think I prefer that a bit more, but I try not to have too many emotions like, oh shit, this is a bad day, or the kids are acting. I always try to stay stoic and just focus on the class structure and hope for the best. Hope they stay in line, and have fun too during the class. I try not to be too strict on the kids, because yeah, I mean, it could be stressful. I don't want them to start hating jujitsu. And yeah, I think that's really important, just like, try to have fun with it, maybe crack some jokes to the kids if you can. I'm not too, I'm not that funny, but, try to just keep a smile and,
Mm-hmm.
and try to stay motivated to teach them.
In terms of curriculum structure, do you work in modules? Like how long, or is it random every day? I've played with things where, we'll go a month taking deep dives into back control or arm bars or things like that. And I found now I prefer to work in weekly modules. Do you have, how often do you switch up your topics? Is it different for adults and kids? How do you structure your curriculum?
Yeah, we do theme of the week, so usually we do the same theme for like 2 weeks. I mean, sometimes we change it, like if we want to go even more in depth. So we just did like 3 weeks of Del Hivas, like, so we could just like try to do some bare bowls at the third week, and try to do some more advanced stuff that's quite interesting, but not too hard too. So like the newer people can do it. Like I feel like if someone is more advanced, they can go deeper themselves, generally. So, but yeah, generally we do 2 weeks, one theme, and then 2 weeks, another theme where it's like the opposite. So if we're doing guard, for 2 weeks, then we'll do guard passing for 2 weeks. So now we're on the passing. So yeah, I mean, I think if you do like one module where it's like a whole month, it could be the students can get tired of doing that same thing over and over again. Even for what we do, sometimes I'm like, I'm trying to be aware if it's too much of the same thing. So yeah, maybe I'll throw some spice into it and just like show something not entirely different, but slightly different in one of the classes. And I look at who's there too, so I adjust the class accordingly to who's there. If there's a more advanced group, then I'll just try to show a bit more advanced stuff. If there's majority white belts, then I'm going to dumb it down for sure. And I try to prep before class, but then I just think of ways to try to like make sure everyone can get a good experience out of it.
There's a couple of books out there. One of them is called Make It Stick, and it's all about how we actually retain information and what would be the best way to retain information. And they talk about university students where they compare how they're learning in monthly blocks throughout the course of a year versus like bi-weekly, like 1 or 2 weeks at a time. And they said that when students learn in monthly blocks, they come out at the end of the month and they think they learn so much because they've just had this like vast depth of instruction in one particular topic. So if it was arm bars, for example, the student would come out at the end of the month and be like, yeah, man, like I learned a lot about arm bars. However, as the months go on, you're talking like 6, 7, 8, 12 months later, they don't retain that information as much as if, let's say, you did a week of arm bars and then a month later you did another week of arm bars and then 2 months later you did another week of arm bars. It's just this I don't really like saying this term anymore. COVID has given me PTSD, but the science says that teaching in this way, in sort of layering in the instruction as opposed to giant blocks at once, is a much better way for the student to retain whatever information you have. Plus, I feel like in a sport like Jiu Jitsu, as you know, it's so vast. There's so many positions that spending a month on like triangles or a month on the back, it's like now we're not giving the student access to other positions unless it's in like live sparring or training on their own free time. So I've changed my approach to weekly, like you said, theme of the week or weekly modules, whatever you want to call it. And if I feel like the topic is vast enough to do it more, then I'll do a second week of that topic, right? Maybe it's guard passing, these are huge topics. And I think that way, in layering in the instruction and having those weekly modules is just so much more effective. And it is more fun because it keeps things fresh for students.
100%. It's kind of like how I like to study instructionals. So first I try to like go through the whole instructional and try to pick up everything I can. I try it out a bunch, and then maybe a couple weeks later or a couple months later, I go and revisit those things, and then I find it just really sticks. I go to the instructional again, or maybe I watch another instructional on the same topic, and it so it's said a bit differently, and I still stay kind of entertained with it. I find it really, really sticks, and I find that's really the best way to learn. So revisiting things over and over again. Maybe saying it a bit differently helps as well, because you need to keep people interested. If you're just repeating your words all the time, you don't want to sound like a robot, I find. And I think that really helps.
Mm-hmm. What instructionals are you watching right now?
There's the new Danaher instructional.
Which one?
The
fastest
one,
way to get good at takedowns?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one just came out. So you're right on top of that one.
Yeah, dude. I
do you like that?
I try to watch it as soon as possible. So the technology's there. We have to be up to date with the technology.
I find with Danaher instructionals, because he's released like a couple of different series. He's got the Fastest Way series. He's got Go Further Faster. He's got Enter the System, where he's literally just taking like systems like Kimura or front headlock and dissecting them. And then like the Fastest Way is kind of like a culmination of previous instructional. So you will see repetition, but it's now in a condensed way that I think sometimes when it's not so in depth, but more as an overarching concept, it's easier to digest. Like I don't have that one that you're talking about, but like the Fastest Way to Increase Submission Percentage is essentially an instructional on the highest percentage submissions, especially the back. It's a focus on getting to the back, controlling the back, and finishing from the back. The highest percentage submissions from there. But there's things that he throws in those series that he doesn't throw in the other ones. Maybe it's just because it's updated technology or whatever it is. Who do you like watching the most in terms of instruction? Who are your go-to guys?
It's Danaher for sure, because he keeps getting better and better as he puts out these instructionals. So the Fastest Way series is like the easiest one to learn from, because it's just like it's more broad principles, and he throws out some like new stuff all the time, and like you can see techniques he's done before, but maybe just like slightly updated, and then it like really sticks. So I'm fully in the Danaher instructional bandwagon. Gordon Ryan's really good, but usually I find it's a bit too dense, and so I just
agree more.
Yeah, I go watch the rolling commentary, and then I just try to apply the techniques from there. And then generally I just watch Danaher stuff, and then I watch a bunch of like Instagram and YouTube videos to keep me entertained and keep the passion going. And Joseph Chen is pretty cool to watch. He's been doing a lot of cool things. I've been watching Dima, his coach. I find him very interesting. He's trying to put out some new things, and he seems really dedicated to coaching. So, you could definitely learn from him, even though he's just a brown belt,
Yeah, just a brown belt, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, because actually a couple of people wanted your opinion on this. I had people asking me, what is your approach to managing training intensity? Because obviously as competitors, we want to have really good training. We want to be able to like have a high intensity so that we're prepared. But training at high intensity all the time obviously has drawbacks. Like there's more likelihood of injury or being burnt out or even getting sick. Like as a competitor who's been in the game as long as you, and as a gym owner who has to also wear the hat of managing a business, like, do you train hard every day? Do you take some days a little bit easier than others? What's your approach to managing that intensity, but still yet getting the same quality that you need out of your training?
Yeah, I'm a bit intuitive. So I really try to like listen to my body and see if I could take some hard training some days. Sometimes I have no choice because I'm like, okay, today's comp class, I have to turn it up. So it's good to have those days where no matter what, you have to turn it up. So it's definitely challenging because, yeah, again, like you can get sick a lot, and I have gotten really, really sick before competitions, especially, and I still had to go and compete, and I mean, surprisingly, sometimes you can still do well, like with a bad flu. But yeah, just try to listen to my body. Generally, I'm training more relaxed and with like a lower heartbeat, and really focusing on skill development. So it really depends who's there. So there's a bit of randomness to it. You can't control who's going to show up to class. So I just try to make the most out of every class and do the most I can. So I think the most valuable thing is to try to just keep doing skill development. Then it really doesn't matter who's there. You can just focus on volume and try to get your reps in. So do deliberate practice. So always have a couple things in mind to practice, and like techniques to try in live sparring. And then you try to hit it, and then that's how it really sticks if you actually are able to pull it off. Yeah, and I sometimes I'm really just like, I use more of a positional game. I don't roll hard at all. Sometimes I'm just really like like I don't know, like zero intensity. Sometimes I'm just like almost dead, and I'm just I'm just rolling around, and then I try to flow into some good positions, and I still do pretty well, against some people. But yeah, obviously, if there's like a higher belt there, then I have to turn it on, and then I somehow always like am able to, to turn it on and to do what I have to do to win the round. So I don't always think about submitting everyone all the time if I'm too tired, because I'm like, okay, well, it's not possible now, but at least I should win by like 2 points, and then at least like in my mind, I gave it my all to win the round.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
I think as we get more experienced, and especially as we age, it is important to manage your intensity. Like you said, it kind of depends on who's there. It depends on how your body's feeling. I try to take a couple of sessions a week where I train at a less intensity, where, like you mentioned, like you can still have success during the round without increasing your heart rate too much. But at the same time, it's like if you're training for a competition, you do need to find ways to increase your heart rate so that you're not going into a competition where you've been training for that competition but never been put in a stressful situation, or never been, you've never had your lungs burning or whatever. So it is, I agree, it's 100% intuitive. And when I was in my 20s, it was just like hard training every class. Like I would just empty the tank, and my body was okay with that. But then as you age, it's like, it's so hard to just do that every day, right? After a certain amount of time, your body was just like, man, you gotta really chill. And that's where I really like what you said about skill development, because that's one thing that we can always do. We don't always have to be 100% intense. And that is probably in the grand scheme of things, the number one goal. That's the number one thing that will determine if your jiu-jitsu is better, is the skill acquisition portion of training.
100%. Yeah, man. Yeah.
I got a couple questions that are, as we're wrapping up here, they're just like quick fire questions, like short answers if you can, but feel free to answer them however you want. You cool with that?
Sure.
Okay. As a competitor, should you break someone in local competitions? Popped up on my Instagram today, so I was like, "Oh, this will be fun to talk about."
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, they're gonna try to break you, so you should probably break them too. Like it's a competition. It's not like it's no joke, man. Like the ADCC opens, you get teenagers doing the adults. I think that's a bit dangerous. Because people are going hard and trying to rip heel hooks. I got Jet Thompson, first round ADCC Vancouver. He's a 16-year-old. I was like, man, he's a prodigy. I have to freaking go and try to break him. And he's he's only 16. And that was a tough match. It was a shame that was first round. But I ended up getting that win. But yeah, you have to try. You have to go for it.
Yeah, I actually made a comment on the post, and I was like, if it's competition, I mean, that's different. Like, I don't think anyone should go in there and try and like Paul Harris someone where it's like your sole goal is to break someone, because I don't think that's good. But like if you're applying a submission and you've given them a chance to tap and they refuse to tap, it's like you have to have your follow through. You have to, and if that means that they get broken, I mean, at that point, I think that the blame shifts from you to them, because it's also their responsibility to respect you as somebody applying the submission and to know their limitations. And I don't think that it matters if it's, a local tournament or an international tournament. I said even international tournaments are local to somebody. You know what I mean? Like that tournament is local to somebody in that city. So it's like, what is a local competition? Even if it's a BCJJF or an AVA, those are local tournaments here. It's like, well, these guys are signing up to compete against me. And if they have me in an arm bar and I don't tap, I would expect that they would try and break me. So I think it's actually, honestly, I think it's kind of a silly question, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm not going to wait till ADCC Worlds to try to, break someone, like you have to test your skills. That's what local competitions are there for, to test your skills, like truly, and to prep you for those bigger events. So, you have to take it seriously.
How else will you know if your mechanics are good, right? How else will you know
exactly
if you can finish something? Like that's what we're trying to do. And I find it interesting when I'm talking to kids and we're talking about breaking mechanics and things like that. And they're like, Coach Matt, should I actually break someone's arm? And I'm like, it's such a gray area, because it's like, yeah, like that's what we're training to do. I don't want little Billy over there to actually break somebody's arm. But at the same time, it's like if they apply an arm bar in competition, I mean, kids competitions, honestly, like they'll stop the match if the arm is like 45 degrees. You know what I mean? Like they'll stop it early a lot of the time. And when I ref kids, I don't do that. I let them go fully extended, because I feel like I can see when a submission can actually apply damage as compared to some referees. But I know a lot of the time they don't let submissions go late. But let's say they did, right? Like, yeah, I mean, we at the end of the day, I'm not coaching you to almost get an armbar. I'm coaching you to be able to break someone's arm. Like that's what the sport is. This is fighting, right? So it's kind of you kind of have to like be careful how you approach that topic and just make sure that safety is the number one thing. We're friends in the training room. We never want to break someone's arm, but yeah, if somebody doesn't tap in competition, like one day you'll be an adult and they're going to try and break you. And that's just the reality of what we're doing, right? We can't just tiptoe around it.
It's a combat sport, man. Like you got to take it seriously. Like it's
What if you're getting
all
bullied?
fun and games?
What if a bully's trying to pound your face in? It's like, you're gonna have to break them, right? This is what your parents are paying for, essentially.
It's also self-defense, man. It's a good school. It's a good skill to have,
Yeah. All right. Here's a question for you. Maybe a GB related question. Is jiu-jitsu for everyone?
It can be for everyone, but it's not though. It's like if they really want it, like it could be for someone any shape and size. If they put the time in, if they really want it, they dedicate themselves to it. Yes, it can be for them, but it's not for everyone. yeah, overall.
Dead or alive?
If they don't go.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if they don't go to training, if they're not trying, they're too much in their own head. I don't know, like, it could just not be for them.
Couldn't agree more. Dead or alive, active or inactive, who is your favorite competitor? Your favorite grappler?
Oh, it was Leandro Lo, man.
Same.
R.I.P. Yeah, in the gi. I mean,
has to be.
I was training mostly in the gi back in the day, and it was like he competed all the time. He always won worlds. He moved up in weight classes. Absolute champion. It was back then. It was just gi pretty much. He even beat Gordon Ryan.
Yeah, I
But
was
people
there.
People don't talk about this. He beat Gordon Ryan, man. He's a freaking legend.
He is a legend. He's the legend. I remember when I woke up and I found out that he had died in a nightclub shooting. I was like, why Leandro Lo? Like, really?
Yeah.
The fucking best? Like, that's the best guy. That's the guy who, when he would fight, everyone would watch him. And like, I don't usually get emotional when like a celebrity dies or a singer dies or but that one does get me emotional because the way that he played the game, you could just see like the way he would smile, the way he would, dance around. He's just so flamboyant and just such an exciting fighter. Fuck, that was really sad.
He would really fight too, and he would party too. Maybe he did a bit too much partying, but
yeah,
maybe. I mean, when I was early 20s, I was like, oh man, this guy's awesome. Like he's still partying and he's winning world titles.
Yeah, and sometimes he would lose, right? He would always go out on his shield, and it's so funny. Whether he was winning or losing, he always looked exhausted. It was like he always looked like he was so gassed. I don't know if he was like playing a mental game or what. Yeah, probably hungover. But yeah, I love Leandro Lo. I gotta stop talking about him. I'm gonna start crying.
Yeah, I emulated his game entirely. It was really weird, man. When I was still watching his game, still trying to emulate him a bit, and then now all of a sudden I don't have any material on him, and I'm just like, oh man, that's and really
I think him and Gordon they were talking about running that match back. Unfortunately, I don't think it would have gone his way this time around. I think Gordon, he's just improved so much.
They should have fought in the gi.
I would love to see that. That would be so sick. I'd love to see Gordon fight in the gi. Unfortunately, I don't know how much longer Gordon's going to be competing for just with these health issues. Like, I know what it's like to have systemic issues, and man, it can really affect you if you can't fix it. It can totally take the wind out of your career, right? So hopefully I'm wrong, but I could see him, not competing too much over the next couple of years. I think we're going to see Marigali become the new guy to beat. He's just looking so good right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, Gordon could just be like a coach, and everyone's still going to respect him like crazy because of what he's done. But it seems like it's might be over for him.
What is your favorite part?
Another ADCC. Yeah.
Yeah, you think he's going to win again? I think he will.
Yeah.
He's too good. What's your favorite part of running a gym?
Rolling. Getting to roll with a bunch of people, and I love teaching. It's super rewarding. After long days of teaching, I feel amazing. Like I really contributed to the team and to people, to students, and that's what it's all about. Servicing people and trying to give good vibes as much as possible, and then I get to roll and develop my own skills. That's a bit selfish, but that's what we're in it for. Like we get to play a sport, play fight pretty much as our job. So it's pretty awesome. Very grateful.
What about your least favorite part?
I don't know. Sometimes, if I feel like too tired and then have to go in. But usually it goes away once I start going or something. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, just the stress overall with like, you know, at the beginning when it was very stressful, like that was not great. But yeah, I think it's all subsided, and
Yeah.
yeah, I love it.
My least favorite part by far is gear orders, putting away gear, dealing with manufacturers. That's
Oh yeah,
putting away gear sucks, and finding space for it. That's by far my least favorite part.
yeah.
What is
Thankfully, I can
yeah,
delegate quite a lot too with Paulini. We share the task, so you
yeah.
know sometimes that's annoying delegating with each other with my partner.
Yeah, your partner is in it with you at the gym. So that's good. Um what is the best like what is a piece of advice that you could give to new gym owners?
Work your ass off. That's it. You know, just keep grinding, keep doing the little things all the time. You know, and yeah, be stoic and just keep. I don't want to say grind because it's not really a grind because you're doing what you love. You know, always be grateful. Um, yeah, just keep working your ass off, train. You know, get the students better, keep all the systems in place. Yeah.
What about somebody who's new to the sport, like a two-stripe white belt who, could be in the sport for many, many years to come? What advice would you give to them?
I mean, keep at it. Listen to your coaches. Um, watch YouTube. Keep doing things to motivate you. Keep coming to class. Be consistent. You know, train at least twice a week. That's what I'd say. You know, like if you can't train, like if you go 5 times a week, you know, and then 1 week you're really busy, just try to make it at least twice a week. Yeah.
Let's
Right,
talk
but
quick.
try to keep adding classes too. You know, it's like if you're only at that twice a week, then just try to find some way to keep adding because like that's how it's going to be more fun too if you're getting better.
Let's talk about rules. IBJJF. If you could change any rules in IBJJF, what would it be?
I mean, I think it's pretty good for what they're doing. It's good that it's very precise. So once high level guys get at it, sometimes it could be a stalemate, and you need like advantages and penalties. I just wish they had more stalling calls, like more warnings. You know, a bit like the ADCC. Keep warning them. Keep warning them. Keep warning them. If nothing's going on, and then penalize them. And don't be
Reward
afraid to penalize
initiations
them.
more.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to penalize. I see them like a lot of the black belt matches with like high with big names. The refs seem to be afraid to like disqualify or to penalize them. So yeah, I think they have to steer away from that and just set some examples and, and DQ some big names.
It really shouldn't
If
matter
they're
in
too
terms
passive.
of like who they are. You know what I mean? It should be kind of
Yeah.
impartial. The white belts and blue belts should be called the same way as the black belts.
100%.
Although at that IBJJF Triple Crown, I did see, what was his name? Gabriel Hosha got DQ'd, double DQ'd with his opponent.
Yeah.
It's
I was
like,
really
holy
happy to see that.
shit.
I was like, yes, because that's what we need to see more of, man. Like,
Yeah.
it's if someone's literally running away, man, DQ them.
What about reaping and heel hooks in masters divisions? I think that should be allowed. For
Master
IBJJF
one,
brown
I think
and black
Master
belt.
one, yeah,
But not
Master
beyond
one, I
that?
think should be allowed. I think there's good reason to save people's knees. 35 and up, maybe it could be tougher to recover from a serious knee injury. Master 1, like 30 to 35, people are still in their prime. They're still trying to make it big. So they're still trying to do 80 cc's. So they should keep that legal, I think. Yeah.
What about as we age and more of these guys who now have leg locks integrated in their game as they're aging, shouldn't they still be allowed to do heel hooks like even past 35? I think right now there's maybe a lot of people in those masters divisions that never integrated leg locks into their game. And so we're kind of keeping them safe, right? But what about those who've been doing leg locks for a long time?
Yeah, I agree. We should totally, there should be some sort of division for them, maybe some pro masters division. I don't know, but yeah, right now it's still too early, I think, for the leg locks. Maybe down the line they'll change the rules and they'll add that. Still they just implemented it, so maybe they're testing it out and then they're going to implement it for Master 1, Master 2. Who knows? But yeah,
anything
I think
in ADC,
if they're really good.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think if they're already really good, yeah, why not? But they could always just do the ADCC, other rule sets, Nagas even.
What about ADCC? Would you change any of their rules if you had the choice?
I think it's pretty good. It's one of my favorite rule sets.
Same.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I love it. I don't know.
Awesome. All right, bro. I'm going to let you go. I know you got class to teach and everything. Before you go, Lucas, where can we find you? Is there anything, any products or any links you want to leave us here?
Yeah, go follow my Instagram, Lucas Wilhan. Follow my gym's Instagram, Lapel Arts. My partner's Instagram, Polyback. We have our website, lapelarts.ca. I have a course on there on open guard in the gi, and I'm going to put out a course on ankle locks soon. So go and check that out. And come visit Lapel Arts if you're in town. If you want to cross train, we have tons of open mats. Yeah, so feel free to come.
Awesome. And guys, I highly recommend if you're in the Vancouver area, obviously come train with me if you can, but if you're near the downtown area, definitely check out Lapel Arts. I speak very highly of Lucas and his program because I'm very familiar with his, I've competed against him and I've trained with him, and I'm definitely planning on making it out to Lapel Arts and training with you at some point near in the future. Also, you have a super fight that just got announced, didn't you?
Yeah, main character at 185. So I kind of like it. I don't have to cut weight. I don't really know the guy. I just know that he trains under Tim Kennedy's Gracie Humaita. So should be pretty legit.
This is a no-gi bout?
No-gi, yeah. He's a
What's
black
the rule
belt
set?
too. It's sub only, and then there's points if there's no sub. Yeah,
like
so a bit like ADCC, yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So let's keep our eyes out for that. And like I said, guys, if you're ever in Vancouver, check out Lapel Arts, check out Lucas Wilhan. If you want to support the show, there's links in the bottom. You guys know what to do. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a review, leave a comment. It helps the show grow. Lucas, thank you very much for joining us today, buddy.
Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Everyday Jiu Jitsu podcast is everything you need to know about Jiu Jitsu. See you guys later.